welcome everybody to episode 2 of The Gray. I'm Jonathan Stovall. Of course, we have the infamous Josh LaFond. And we have these gentlemen who I'm going to let them introduce themselves as our guests today. We're just going to have a conversation around faith, conversation around mental health. And you know what? Wherever else it takes us, I don't care. Go ahead, man.
So yes, I'm Latrel Shirley. Work with Josh. We worked together for about 8-9 years.
About 8 years now. Yeah.
So he asked me about doing this podcast today, and I told him I would love to do it. And then thought that with the topics we're having today, that I have my friend Jeremy come on and kind of talk as well. So.
Okay.
All right, man. So tell me about you. Let's go.
Cool. I'm Jeremy Jessup. I'm a board member of the Legacy Collective. I've got a passion for discipleship and spreading the gospel. Latrel Shirley here, one of my best friends. He told me about what you guys were doing. I extended the invitation, and I was like, yeah, this sounds awesome. So I'm all in.
Awesome. Josh, go ahead, man. Start us off. Where are we going with this conversation today?
Yeah. So I asked Latrel to join us for a while now, but I know it's been a while since we've been trying to get this podcast on the road. But one reason I asked Latrel to join us is that he's a really big thick on Christianity. He's a really big advocate for mental health and how he can take both of those ends and apply it to his own life. And so one big question I have for both of you guys, and one of y'all can take it off if you want to, is what about faith that makes it important for you to balance that in mental health? How do you guys able to balance that?
All right, and there's no rhyme or reason, so just jump in and talk.
So for me, I feel like, it's a good balance. It can go hand in hand. A lot of times people kind of think one or the other, but I feel like to get the full power of God, sometimes we got to combine stuff together. A lot of times, with some people feel like, oh, well, I'm not gonna just do medicine or stuff like that, but it's God gives doctors and people knowledge, and so we should be able to use all of that together as one. But to just only use mental health and not use faith, I feel like that's something that you're not getting the full power there either. So I feel like combining that together as one is a good way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Being spiritual journey for anybody, it's a personal journey, so people, it takes time for you to kind of get that faith and get that understanding.
I like that. Jimmy, what's your spin on it, man?
So for me, God is my source. He's my everything. Mental health ties directly in with your faith. I feel like the more disconnected you get from God,
Right.
The easier it is to succumb to those thoughts, those temptations, the doubt, the fear. When you tie into the vine, God's going to meet that need. He's going to provide for you. I'm not one of those Christians who think, mental health isn't real. You're just not reading the Bible enough.
Hey, they exist. They exist.
But I think they go hand in hand. As Latrell was saying, God guides the hands of the doctors. God inspires the medication that we use. God's got his hands on everything. And you absolutely need to turn to God. But whenever God provides a way, you need to walk through that door. And sometimes it's the doctor, sometimes it's the medicine.
Well, nothing's really ever changed, in my opinion. We look and say, oh, medicine is this, medicine is that. Guys, we always had medicine. We've always had, whether it was, more advanced today than it is then, or whether whatever, you've always had, like you said, that door. It's your choice. Do you walk through that door or not? I read a book one time called Salvation on Sand Mountain. If you've not read it, read it. It's about Christianity, but it's about snake handlers, so it's kind of different, right? So anyway, there's a quote in this book, and I apply this to everything in my life. This man is up there, he's studying snake handlers. He's studied them for a week. He's going to go to church. Okay, he's going to go to church and handle a snake. I'm not going to go to church and handle a snake. I don't know about y'all, but I'm not. Josh, you going to handle a snake?
No.
Okay, all right. So anyway, he's at the door. And he has this quote that he says, and this applies to everything in life, and you will love this, and I promise you'll use it. So I stand at the front of the door. I know that no matter what I decide, to go in or to turn and walk away, my life has been changed forever. Every choice that you make when it comes to God, when it comes to mental health, that's a big choice. It might not seem like it, but it is. Whatever choice you make, your life is shaped by that choice.
And I've always found, like, for instance, like I go to therapy, personally, but it's one of those.
He's a
deals-
therapist that goes to therapy. I mean, it's okay, but I mean, I'm gonna give him a hard time. Like,
Again, I'm not a therapist. I'm a case manager. But even we can like Latrell and I, we can tell people they need to go to therapy all they want and all that stuff, and then we go ourselves. But the biggest thing I've always found, and always a therapist always found, and this is just
you said you're a case manager.
I'm a case manager.
Which one? You just said you're a therapist. Which one are you?
I didn't say I was a therapist.
You did. He did. Did he not say that? Didn't he say that?
You said I was a therapist.
I mean, I'm just saying that.
And you go see a therapist.
Okay,
Get
go ahead.
out of here. Get out. Anyway, so the point though is when you are in mental health and you're so deep into it, you're so focused on the issues and everything that comes into it, that a lot of therapists have reported that they've noticed changes when they start going to church, or they start having some type of faith-based type of ordeal. Of course, in mental health, we can't openly talk about faith or anything like that unless they bring it up. But which then that door opens, we can run with it. You know what I'm saying? But you cannot do anything until it happens. But it is nice to see that people who are starting to go to church, have a community, have a small group, they do start doing better, and there is a big result in that. And I'm not talking statistics, but that it's just how it goes. It really is a difference, and I feel like if people are able to put faith into their day-to-day task, if they are believers, it really does make a difference in their mental health, I think.
So
I mean, I think you see these problems with anybody in the world. It doesn't matter your profession, whether you run a nonprofit, whether you were a teacher and now you sell insurance, whether you're a therapist, whether you're a case manager or whatever, whatever he calls himself over there. I don't know. There's people in every walk and every facet of life that struggle. Like whether it's mentally, whether it's religiously, whether it's spiritually, you struggle, and you got to have these people in your life that you are, to Latrell, and that Josh is to Latrell, and that maybe I am to somebody, but who knows? You got to have these people in your life that pick you up and help direct that path, because we all struggle. So Jeremy, tell me about a time where somebody did exactly what you're doing for others right now, where somebody intervened in your life.
Oh man, that's easy. It's Mr. Latrell right here. This has been one of my brothers.
You saying that because you're here, ain't you?
No, not
That's
at all.
it.
I got two guys that I can absolutely lean on. I've got a lot of friends that are there for me, but Latrell and my good friend Jelani, these guys check in with me. We do a Saturday meetup at Q, or we go for a walk. He hears me, I hear him.
Nice.
We just support each other. That's what brotherhood and fellowship is all about. And Latrell's a model of that.
Nice. Hey, man, he just blew. Latrell's head getting bigger over here. I don't know if y'all can tell or not, but look, you got this smile, this infectious smile. What about you, Latrell? Like, when have you had a time, you can't use him now, by the way. When have you had a time where somebody helped pick you up or intervened, to hey, man, you're having a hard day, or hey, man, let's get back on the path of righteousness?
Oh, man. So, you tell me can use Jeremy. I'll tell you this. I'm going to still have to name drop Jeremy because...
Yeah, because you're here? We online?
Because he in the last... I will say, I've had this good spiritual awakening in probably, the last 2 to 3 years. I guess I would say my wife.
That was a good call. That was a good call.
Yeah. She and it's interesting because I've always we was talking earlier off camera, but about when we were saved and stuff, but I was 10 years old, been in church all my life, but like Jeremy had said too, you have your relationship with God, but sometimes when you're growing up, it's someone else's relationship, like a parent. But once you get older and start realizing and knowing God for yourself, that's where those changes become. My wife, I made sure when we got married, we were going to church. But like I said, we were going, but not really diving in the Word, I'd read the Bible every once in a while. I would read when I needed to teach Sunday school. I would really study then, but my off time, I wasn't doing that. But then Jeremy kind of came up to me, and he started this small group, and we started really diving in the Word, and really started looking at touching other guys of getting them in the Word as well.
Their hearts, by the way. That's what he's talking about. Their hearts.
Oh yeah. Good point. Good call there.
Look, man, I'm gonna give you a hard time. Like if Josh didn't warn you, I'm gonna aggravate you. I like this guy. Met him, talked off camera. This guy's got an awesome heart. So does this one. And by the way, he's a published author. We'll plug that later.
We'll plug that
But
in a bit.
keep going, Latrell. Like I love it, man. But I am gonna give you a hard time. So just be ready for it.
No, but like, I'll go ahead and I'll probably jump back to Jeremy in a second too. But like, he came up to me, me and this other guy named Ryan, about over a year ago. We started this small group called The Initiated, and started talking with guys, recruiting guys into this small group. And really, we wanted to be able to get men and just make them leaders in their homes again, and get more men more present in their homes, but also a better relationship with God. And I think that's what we wanted to do. But like I said, Jeremy kind of talked with me about it, and I was like, I feel like that's a good idea. And then he was like, okay, I think I'm about to start this. I'm like, okay, whenever you start this, I'm with you.
You can't leave the story because he's missing part of it. Like he only has it from his point of view. You got it from yours. Tell us, man. Add to it. Like what happened?
So the way it started, I was going we had a rough patch in my marriage with me and my wife. Things weren't going as smooth as.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna bring that up too. That your wife too. He did. So now you got to
And I just had one night. I just felt convicted. It's like going to church, reading my Bible, trying to be a good father and everything.
Right.
But I wasn't really getting deep into the Word, and I wasn't fellowshipping with other guys. I was kind of practicing my faith, but not living it.
Right.
So God just put it on my heart, like, Jeremy, you need to do some Bible study.
Okay.
So I just kind of cast it out. I was like, one guy will come. That's what I need. I wasn't trying to start a group. Well, I cast that net. We had, three guys at first, and the fourth guy said yes. He just wasn't able to make it. As we started meeting, guys were hearing about it. More guys started showing up. One guy, he lives in Clarksville, and this was just God. He's a truck driver, and he was in town one night.
All right.
And God just told him, he needed to get into a Bible study group. He did an online search, found us, showed up. Like, had no idea who he was. He didn't know who we were.
All right, that's God. That's still cool.
If God sent you're more
Latrell
welcome.
invited me like a billion times. Well, a few times.
Hold on. You ain't went yet.
Huh?
You ain't went yet.
Well,
It's good it's on a small group, so-
I know, but like you brought these guys out here. You brought an author. Leads a nonprofit. You got a nice guy who's a man. You ain't even been. Oh man, that's rough. That's rough, bro.
We just do
That's
Wednesday.
rough, brother.
It just runs the same night as Wednesday night.
I'm just messing with you. Yeah, he does have his own small group. He does. I mean, Josh, tell us about your small group.
Well, my small, it's not mine. It's Larry Payne's small group.
Okay.
But you're also in it too. So
Just go ahead,
we're
man.
just as much in it as in anyone else.
I don't even know who I am. Go ahead. Continue.
What are you talking about? No, but like you said, I'm sure Latrell has probably talked to you about it. But we got a small group that's online, and it's a bunch of fishermen basically. It started off with a bunch of fishermen. Now their wives get on there too, and then a bunch of other people I invite usually get on. I've always invited Latrell anyway, just in case you guys ever miss a week or something. But I've heard a lot about your group, and I may have to excuse Larry one week and come and see you guys if you guys have me, But I know you guys have been doing like book series. That's been a big thing you guys have been doing. It's a lot of marriage stuff, a lot of trying to keep your marriage healthy. And I think that's important, especially for someone like me who's been married for coming up 12 years now. It's important. Relationships are the most important piece, and believe it or not, we have to try to keep it healthy and keep it nice, and sometimes it isn't always nice, right? And so putting God as the center, and I'm just grateful I have a wife, and my turn to plug her in. I have a wife that is a faith-based woman who does love everyone and does love me and puts up with me.
One of the things that you said, Jeremy, off camera, is that he commanded us to be disciples and go out and make disciples, right? Josh said that the group that Larry started is a bunch of fishermen. Like, I'll be honest with you, I can fish. I don't like to fish. I do it because I enjoy the collegial atmosphere. I enjoy the conversation like we had before camera, the conversation we're having right now. Like, this is me. Like, I'm giving you a hard time, but this is me. Yeah. So I enjoy this. Like, one of our goals, man, is, the fishermen. I know that Larry did this on purpose, and he's never told you, but I'll make you fishers of men. I mean, so that's the whole premise. Yeah. But what we want to do with this is we want to highlight people like you. highlight people, like Mr. Shirley here, and then we want to bring this to you. We want to come to your small group.
Yeah.
We want to see what your small group's about. We want to go out into the community. We want to spread this. We want to spread God's love, because we can talk about God's love all day long. We can, but that's nothing like showing it. You guys know that. It's nothing like showing it. When you show it, people ask you. You ain't got to tell them. They're asking you, what's going on with you? You know what I mean? So, that's where I'm at. Like,
if you got a good link, we can post it and share it with everyone else too. If they're in the area and they want to come, if you're okay with it.
Oh, yeah, it's just the LexiCollective.blog.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
what nights are that?
well, our group meets on Wednesdays, and then we also meet a few guys on Saturday morning. And then my wife, she has a group called The Well.
So we interrupted some stuff there now?
Oh, you guys are good. This is well worth it.
Awesome. So, all right, so my next question for you all is kind of like just to keep this conversation going in the way that we are with mental health and with faith. Where do you want to take what you're doing now? You said growing in spirituality, growing in your nonprofit and your spirituality, growing in your profession as a case manager, whatever. Where do you want to see yourself go with that? Like, what do you want God to do through you? Because I know that we can't say what we want, but what do you want God to do through you in the role you're in now?
Yeah, for me, the goal of the Lexi Collective is to kind of package discipleship up with some structure and then take it across the country. Like you said before, we're trying to start a movement. We're not just having a small group. The small group is awesome, but we're trying to create discipleship groups that enrich you, not just mentally and in the word, but your life, to create leaders who create leaders of their home, who go out into the community. A man or a woman who goes through a Lexi Collective group, they should impact their church. People should be able to look at them like something's different about you. That's the goal.
Remind me after this to tell you about something that I did once through education that Rich, 48 states, 3 countries, we can do this with your stuff, and I promise you it'll catch fire.
Okay.
Where do you want to see yourself? Like, what do you want to see your ministry like, man?
So it's 2 areas. So like I said before, like I work with Josh, but I'm
Don't tell everybody.
I'm a case manager, but I work with children. But I've always felt like my goal in life is to kind of help kids reach their full potential. Even before I started my current job, I used to work at the Boys and Girls Club, and being able to talk with those kids and get them, kind of mentor them in their lives. Because
I want you to go back to this with timeout. When did you work at the Boys and Girls Club?
Trying to think. So my last year was 2015. So I think I started.
It was before your VHS, right?
Yeah.
You've been there for 10 years, as long as I have.
So I did 5 years at the Barron County Boys and Girls Club.
What about the Bowling Green Boys and Girls Club? Were you there?
No. We did some volunteer events. The Boys and Girls Club of Barron and Bowling Green, they used to do some events together, so I've been
The
there.
reason I was asking is because I was at Parker Bennett Curry right beside the Boys and Girls Club. So I was just seeing if I might know this man. But continue. I interrupted you all rudely. I apologize for that.
No, you good. But like, I felt like I had a lot of fear in my life growing up, and I had a few people that kind of would encourage me, but I felt like if I had more people, I would have got there quicker. And I did have people that would come up to me, but like I was a scared, kind of quiet kid, and so because of that, a lot of people didn't know what was going on with me. I was just a real quiet guy, but
I'm quiet too. Can you tell?
But because of that, like I want to be able to help kids that maybe people don't see, maybe people who are maybe kind of suffering in silence, or people who are maybe having a hard time in life, or they're having a hard time making good decisions. I want to be able to help guide people. But also with the Legacy Collective with Jeremy, because I'm also on the board with him as well, that we started, that I want to be able to help other people, be able to disciple, be able to reach other people, and be able to pass this along, pass the word of God on to others. Mm-hmm. And I feel like through that, we can make the world better. My uncle, he's a pastor, and
Where's your pastor
at? Trinity Full Gospel Baptist Church. That's in Bowling Green.
Cool.
But he says if at the end of every service, if every saved soul will save a soul, then the world would be saved.
Amen.
And I mean, I feel like that's really deep, but you really think about it because all those connections you made.
Wish I had a notebook. I'd like to write that down.
We're here right now. Listen to it later. But yeah, I mean, that's me. I know it's a little long.
No,
message,
man,
but
that's
me.
perfect. That's perfect. That's perfect. So, where I would take this, Jeremy, is that you guys have a great relationship. What you're doing with your nonprofit is obviously you're trying to create a movement. Josh and I are not necessarily trying to create a movement, but what I like to do is I want to see the movement from me eventually in the background.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story.
It'll happen naturally.
Boys to Men that Tyrion Clark runs right now in Bowling Green, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tyrion and I started that in 2011.
Oh, nice.
We started that in 2011. When I went to be a principal at Adairville, I stepped off. There's some things that are different, but you light a fire, never knowing what it's going to look like. Or plant a tree, never knowing what it's going to look like. And it is the same type of thing. When we built that, we built it around faith. We couldn't talk about it because it was school. We built it around faith. Like, hey, we actually did have prayer time. Now that I don't teach, I can tell you that. We actually did have prayer time, and we did have meetings where boys would try to turn into men. And I feel like that's what you guys are trying to do, is you're trying to take, whether they be men, young men, or still boys at heart like me, you're trying to shape people like me into being productive men of God. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Josh, man?
Yeah, I got a good question for you. So, for me, when we talk about the transformation of becoming men of God and what that fellowship looks like and how that changes the perspective of how we are as human beings.
Okay.
Mentally, obviously, there is an aspect of stigma. There is definitely a certain type of level we have to be at.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you say the faith and mental health play together? How would you put that into perspective? If you had to go somewhere to talk about that.
About how faith and mental health come together.
How they really connect together. Or how can you address both at the same time?
So for me, I think a lot of it ties into purpose. Like, how many men do you know that are just waking up, doing life, and then going to sleep, and they accomplish nothing? They felt no sense of value, no sense of self-worth.
99.9%.
99.9%, I agree wholeheartedly. Well, where do we get our purpose from? From God. He put every man here to do something. The fact you're here is the proof that he wanted you to do something. Mm-hmm. So once you're walking in faith, once you have that relationship with God, it helps resolve a lot of the mental health issues. Like I said earlier, mental health is real, and there are things that, you need to see a therapist for. There are things you might need medication for. But how many things are self-inflicted just from a lack of understanding who you are as a man?
I mean, I think that's, man, you couldn't have said that any better. Like, I'm over here, like, kind of stuttering, and I don't stutter, obviously. I talk a lot, but I don't stutter. But when I look at the way you just worded that, is that I think that growing up, and men in general, they don't want to tell you they're struggling. They don't want to tell you they're struggling. So, you talked about you struggle kind of in silence, right? Mm-hmm. This personality is to cover up all of that silence. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, people are like, well, John's always had a great personality. Yeah, that's because John is struggling, but he ain't going to tell you he's struggling. He's going to look like he's being productive and that he's doing those things. But walking in purpose is huge in my life. And I know that I can tell that it is in y'all's and it is in Josh's. So that, to me, is how you put them together. Is once that you know your purpose. There's a video that I'll tell you more about later, but it's know your why. Okay? Mm-hmm. When you know your why and you know your purpose, you can walk in it every day. Right. I honestly feel like getting to know you, and I mean, I kind of know this dude. I met him today, but whatever. You're living your purpose right now. And that's not just your job. That's the nonprofit that you're doing. That's the discipleship you're doing. I think that for Josh, he wanted to do a podcast for a long time. I wanted to do one. This is kind of him living his purpose. For me, my purpose, I don't know. For me, I feel like my purpose is to meet people. I want to meet people, build relationships. I don't care how famous it gets. Mm-hmm. I want the impact to be like, man, I met John Stovall the other day, and he said something that really made me think. So that's where I'm at with that.
Well, you stood up something to me when you were talking about how we all mentally just help as men. My biggest thing is this: how many times do we pull up into our driveway or at work, and we just sit in our car in just complete silence for just a solid 10 minutes? I do it every time I get home. I can't help it. Like, my wife would look at the Ring camera and she's like, "Are you going to come in?" And I'm like, "Babe, I'm just trying to decompress for the day." Or I'll do it in the parking lot to work. And Latrell has seen me do it. Latrell has seen me came out, and
You knock on a window.
No, he's seen
See,
me
I'd
come out.
knock on a window back today.
Well, I've found my purpose is that's when I'm going to read the Bible. That's when I'm going to sit down and read.
By the way, he reads 365 days a year. If you want to find him, Google him, you'll find it.
I am doing that, yes. I am slacking. Some days I have to do 2 or 3 days worth of reading.
Oh, so really not 365. Like, you doubling up.
Some days I have to double up. Yeah,
It's all right. It's all right.
But
Still
but
good
it's
effort.
still getting to 365. But that means if I'm skipping, I'm still not skipping. But no, that's the point when I sit down and read, and I find something out of it every time. Because I've got a tradition where I just take it and I flip it, and I read whatever's in it, and I try to go. I used to do verse of the day, and it just got it took away the joy of it. If that makes sense. Like, I may do it again, but to me, it took away the joy. And then you can ask Latrell. Latrell knows I'm a talker too. I've been kind of quiet this interview, but Latrell, there's been many times he's probably the only person at work besides my boss Abby that I can roll the window down like, "Hey, come here, look what I'm reading," and I can show him, and he'll go, "Oh, okay." Like, especially if he's busy, I know he'll go, "Oh, okay." Because actually, that's a good one. We read about that one the other day, and then it brings a good conversation up, and sometimes I see that he's stressed and may make him smile, and if it doesn't make him smile, that's fine. But if it does, hey, it made someone's day. That's all that matters to me, and I want to share that wealth with people. But you can't really do it openly at work, but at the same time, I'm not shy to say that I love God, and I guess for me, I don't know about you guys, I've kind of got it to a point where I'm not afraid to talk about God, with coworkers at least, unless I know that they're just not willing to talk about it.
Yeah, right.
But I do know my limits. But I do know I've became very unashamed of my faith, and I think that's where I've grown as a man is. I'm willing to talk about it anytime anyone wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Josh, I know earlier you was talking about the mental health piece of it. I feel like what me and Jeremy have noticed with our small group is like there's a lot of guys that are struggling with the same things, and I feel like we've talked about the generation before us maybe.
What you trying to say? Are you trying to talk about my age over here? Like, I'm hurting over here. I'm gonna go to the corner and cry. I'll be back in a minute.
But we feel like the generation before us maybe like, it's like be the tough guy. Don't let people know how you're feeling.
Yep.
Keep those emotions.
Continue. I'm
locked
gonna tell you, you're getting it right. Come on.
And we noticed that, and we were like, Jeremy's like, I want to break this cycle. And Jeremy, he's like, with his son, he wants to break that cycle and give his son the opportunity to be like, yeah, I want you to be able to get your emotions out. Don't just keep them bottled up. There's so many guys that we've talked to that's like, man, I'm struggling. And I feel like I have to be the strong one. I'll tell you, for me, there was a time with me and my wife where, she won't go in full details, but, she was struggling with something. I was struggling with something. But the thing was, I was struggling quietly. And at one point, she kind of called me out on it because she was like, "You seem like you don't care." And it was like, no, I care, but I felt like I didn't want you to know because I feel like I was being the strong one by not giving out my emotions, not letting her know how I felt about it. Because I was like, I'm being the strong one. And she was like, but when you do that, it makes me feel like you don't care. And I was like, man, I didn't think of it that way. Sure. And so then, more now, like, I'll let her know, I'm like, yeah, this is bothering me. I'm here with you together. But that's something that we want to, with our group, we want to change is like letting guys have those relationships with their wives, let them know another part of them, because there's a lot of guys. I think for me, I'm still growing, still learning. I'm more open now with my wife than I ever had before. I'm more open with other people than I have before, but there's still a lot of me still that might be a little locked away. But I'm growing and I'm learning to be like, it's cool to be able to express yourself and have a group of guys that you can share that with. Like I said too, with mental health, like when you're like struggling with like anxiety or depression, a lot of times you might be at home, not getting out much, staying locked up in your room, not having a lot of people.
No.
I mean, everybody has their own.
You're absolutely right, though. Or you sitting on a computer screen. Like, I felt myself, instead of going outside, I'm sitting there playing video games. And a game I don't even care about. Like, I'm just, like, wasting time.
Well, like Jeremy said, you're just living life. Yeah. You're just not living. You're just going through the motions of life and not actually fully living it.
Like, we sat outside the other day. Me and my wife did. And we enjoyed that. Like, we just sat outside. We didn't do nothing. We let the chickens out. And we sat there with them. Mm-hmm. And we enjoyed that moment. Like, we didn't have to do anything. Mm-hmm. And so for me and her, that was important. Like, and I feel like that rekindles relationships. I feel like sometimes we get so caught up. She gets caught up in her job. I get caught up in my job. Same way your wife gets caught up in her job. You get caught up in your job. And at the end of the day, we're so exhausted. How we're supposed to communicate. Like, I'm really bad about this shutting up, believe it or not. I shut up when I get home, and I give her a hug, we give her a kiss, and I just go and do my own thing. And she does her own thing. And which is healthy for some people. It is. We're sitting in the same room, but it's not communicating, and it's not worshiping. And barely do me and my wife, honestly, now that I think about it, barely do me and her really read together. We read the Bible.
She and I.
Read together. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's something that I want to try to put more into flourishing. Let's sit down each morning. We do pray every day, though. That is one thing I make sure we do as the man of the household. All right. Is we pray.
So let me. I'm coming to you for this because I need you to answer this.
I still want Latrel to finish what he's saying, but
I was done.
I'm taking what he's saying, that he's making fun of my generation, which is, it's okay, Latrell. I forgive you. Actually, I wasn't going to forgive because you're right. You begged it. Like, that's how we are. Mm-hmm. But there's a fine line with that, because here's the thing. He just made a point. I'm the head of the house. Okay? So, yes, you are the head of the house. Yes, you lead the prayer. Yes, you do this. How vulnerable can you be? How do you get guys to open up and realize they can be vulnerable? What is there a line? And I'm asking just Jeremy, because you lead that small group with that men, and I say that's your passion. Is there a line of too vulnerable, not too vulnerable? What do you think?
That's a good question.
So there definitely is a line, especially as the leader of the group. I've realized I've got to be vulnerable. The guys are going to follow the leader. If I'm the leader, I've got to open up if I want them to open up. But I try to walk that line of embarrassment, and maybe I'll share the generals of something going on with me and my wife, but I'm not going to give the specific details because I'm there to lead them, but my ministry at home is my primary one, and I'm going to protect that, and I'm going to keep that sacred. So like coming to this, my wife gave me permission to share that she had struggled with some mental health issues before.
We appreciate her allowing you to share that.
Yeah.
We really do.
But if she hadn't have given me permission, you guys would never know. It's because that's my primary ministry. I'm going to protect that above all costs. But aside from that, if it's not going to embarrass her, if it's going to enrich someone, I'm not proud of the things that make me sad or make me cry. But I've also got to share my testimony. God gave me a testimony for a reason. His uncle, Dr. Beeson, has said many times, you get a testimony by going through the test. So it's there to be used. It's a tool to share. You never know who's going to benefit from it.
Well, as we wrap up, love that. I like ending on that because you said your main ministry is home, right? I know that Josh's is. I know that Latrell's is. I know that mine will eventually be there. But what I want to say is the thing that you guys do, the things that Josh does, one of the things that we always say, and I say this because I said it to kids, and if you want to use it in your men's group, this is a way that I let people know, is that I've always said, if nobody's told you today, because how many people have told you today? How many people have told you any day? If nobody's told you today, you matter. You do matter.
Absolutely.
You matter to somebody. You matter to us. You matter to the man upstairs. So don't ever think you don't matter.
Oh, yeah.
So as we conclude today, we're going to talk more off camera. This guy's going to advertise his book in a second. We'll film that separately. But thank you guys for joining us. Gentlemen, thank you. Hope I didn't give you guys too hard of a time. And Josh, I don't know if you're counseling, if you're case managing right now. You're counseling me, you're managing me. I'm not real sure. But but thanks, man.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see y'all later.
Yeah, so thank you guys for the opportunity to come onto your podcast, The Gray, and talk about mental health and faith. I do just want to share a small book that I published. It's called the Men's Small Group Series. I've got a passion for discipleship, and it's just a tool that men can use. Chapter 1 is an introduction, talking about how to start small groups, how to lead one, how to support the men as you're in it. And then there's 5 chapters following it that just give you some lessons to follow. It's called the Men's Small Group Series because I'm going to publish a series of these. I've already got series number 2 going, and it's talking about marriage. And just stay tuned. There's going to be lots of these. This is available on Amazon. Just search for Jeremy Jessup or the Men's Small Group Series.
Okay, guys, this is Josh from the Gray Podcast. I am wanting to pull up the Legacy Collective website for you guys so that you guys can kind of see what it looks like. This is what they were talking about during the podcast. Just want to kind of show you just kind of how the layout is. Okay, when you click the first one, it's got the discipleship, what their mission statement is here. To initiate, it talks about them, their mission. You can go through all of this, what makes the difference, what makes them different, brotherhood in action, and interested. And you can sign up here, which I'll do here in a minute, actually. And then it talks about the well. So it looks like they have different types of things that they are rooted in. See, I see what they did there. Yeah, rooted in prayer. That's right. That's the only way you can do it. What's funny is this kind of forms a tree. Just thinking. But yeah, guys, go and go check out their website. Go show them some love. Go give them support. They have a men's Bible study in here you can look at. Like I said, it seems like a pretty good little. You got a group one. And you can buy it. Yeah. So I mean, that's probably the stuff he talks about as far as the books goes and stuff. So, but all right, guys, you have a good one. Thanks for coming in.